Let's take a look at where we stand at this hour. The administration is saying that the Saudi was not a threat. Well then, why, on the second page after the cover sheet, which we'll show you here in a second, is al-Harbi listed as armed and dangerous? Armed and dangerous. I thought he just put on a watch list. Now he's armed and dangerous. Why was al-Harbi admitted to this country after the special advisory option? Now this is reserved for politicians, journalists, or VIPs. This is not just for somebody who's coming over to school. This is a VIP. This allowed him to enter our country without fully being vetted. They didn't even know who he really was. Who made that happen? Why was he treated as a VIP? Next one. Officials say he was only being deported because he was on an expired visa. That's not true. How could it be true if the event file indicates that his visa is good until November 11th, 2016? Al-Harbi was also supposed to enroll at the University of Findlay, Ohio. He never did. Officials claim he applied for a transfer. If that's true, where's the paperwork? Why does the event file list him as a student at the University of Findlay in Findlay, Ohio? When there's an event file, and here's the sticky part for the administration, when somebody goes and makes the event file, this system is put on alert. And the author or authors, in this case, are notified whenever anybody tries to access or change that information. Oh, I wish somebody had the email addresses of those who tried to access it, huh? So every time you would access this, if you try to change it, it logs everything you're doing and then kicks back an email. So we would have to ask this administration, why was it that this file was accessed and then amended? Why did someone try to remove the terrorism and deportation reference? Why did then somebody go back in and then try to destroy both the original and the amended versions to erase all of this? That seems like a Nixon-style cover-up, doesn't it? This event file seems to tell an entirely different story than when Napolitano and the DHS and this administration is trying to sell you, the American public. The original event file was reviewed and approved by two high-level agents. The Chief Watch Commander, Mainberg is his name, and the Watch Commander, Mayfield. These two guys. And let me show you the cover sheet. This is the cover sheet of the event file. It says here the subject, Al-Harbi, it gives his date of birth. He's from, country of origin is Saudi Arabia. He is the holder of an F1. This is a, you can come in on the visa. The visa expires 11th of November, 2016. And here's a really interesting thing. It says he's an exact match to the no-fly TPN, this number. Wait a minute. So this file is created and it says, oh, by the way, he's an exact match to this file over here, which puts him on the no-fly list. That's interesting. Derogatory information was reviewed. So in other words, you can't just call up. You have to have information. You have to have things, let's say you went to his apartment for 9 hours and collected evidence. Then you would present it. It was reviewed by these people, and it was found to be sufficient to request a visa revocation. They're requesting a revocation of this number. Subject is inadmissible to the United States under a 2123B. There it is. Terrorist marking. You cannot be here in the country. But it goes on to say, by the way, we never did any real homework on who this guy is. We didn't vet him. It wasn't complete when he came in. How did that happen? It says he came in Boston. Point of entry is Boston on this date. Subject is a student at the University of Findlay. Really? I thought he transferred. This is really interesting here. Subject has one prior event. Event number 1648067. Isn't that interesting? It says no record in place, no schedule found at this time. Wow. So he is a designated terrorist. Page 2 says he's armed and dangerous. And he has one prior event. This doesn't sound like some kid who just loves playing video games and basketball and is just trying to sort out his life and playing with his friends. Why is he already in the system? Why does he have a prior event? Why does this match another no-watch list? Who put him on the no-fly list? And then, are they separate? Why did they designate him as a 2123B terrorist activity, armed and dangerous? You see, the only ones that really have the answer, well, are some of our sources, but also the DHS. This administration knows. And for whatever reason, wonder what it could be, they're trying to cover it up. Why? Well, tonight I'll just give you some of my best guesses. But one thing you have to take away from this tonight is you have to learn a few things and get them right, and do not listen to anyone else that's telling you these things are absolutely crystal clear. First of all, this kid is a 2123B, an active terrorist, or poses an immediate terror threat. He was also armed and dangerous. He was not some kid at the wrong place at the wrong time. Given the highest level of terrorist designation the United States of America can give somebody. 2, he did not overstay his visa. He was given special status allowing him to come in without a complete vetting process. That doesn't happen. He also didn't go to school in Ohio. 3, they knew who he was as soon as they had his name. This is a very big deal. He was on a no-fly list. He already had an event status. So as soon as you would type his name in, his file would pop up. 4, the government and the administration is covering for him. They're covering up for some reason. My guess is that he comes from a very powerful clan. I mean, if you're going to have somebody from Saudi Arabia, if you're going to have the foreign minister show up and talk to the president, you better have powerful family. The White House knows. Because the last point is they are trying to cover up. Just like Nixon tried to cover up his lies, they're covering up. And they are in full damage control mode. And look what's happening. Remember, they initially said being deported because of a visa that's expired. No, it's not. DHS is trying to cover their tracks just on that one. Now claiming that there's another Saudi national being deported for an expiring visa. Well, who is he? This event file was created on Tuesday at 4:35 p.m. But there's already something that was put right here. Another event file prior to the bombing. Shortly after searching, a lengthy search of his residence in Boston, that's when they went and they presented all this evidence. It was amended 24 hours later. Just after John Kerry met with the Saudi foreign minister, and just before Janet Napolitano appeared to answer the questions where she says, I'm not even going to answer that one, and I need a cigarette and maybe a pack of cool cigarettes and some Alka-Seltzer. Oh. Why was it amended just before she spoke? Why was it amended just after the Saudi foreign minister showed up, and just after, or just before the Saudis show up again at the White House for another coincidental meeting? By the way, a couple of hours ago, TheBlaze News had learned that the State Department this afternoon has issued an internal warning to all government employees. Anyone not directly involved with the Boston bombing investigation no longer has any access to any related files. We'll find out what that means in just a few minutes. The other news networks are not reporting this story. Hurry to watch them do nothing. They've stood down. Why? I can't say with certainty for all of them. I can say for some of them. But what we have learned is that DHS and other federal officials are aggressively contacting media outlets and advising them not to run with the story. I know for sure of at least 2 outlets that have veteran journalists that had this story ready to file it, and management killed it for some reason or another. Interestingly, we did catch this report by Bret Baier, which I thought was interesting, from Fox News. This is not him on his newscast. This is not his regular show. This is an online video blog. If you watch this segment, it's really something to see. Bret's a great guy, and I think you can see him, and when you listen to him, you're like, all he keeps saying over and over again, basically, if you will, are the talking points directly from DHS. Not a reporter. He is reporting what DHS is saying. He says, this is what they're telling us, about 500 times in the video. Well, that's not journalism. And I don't think he believes it. Why isn't it on the regular show? But then again, maybe. I know we have our facts right. One of the claims in the information was that the Fed had this event file. And that's just something that's auto-generated once you're on a no-fly list. Not true. Our sources actually laughed out loud at this claim. You don't get to be a 212 3B terror activity status, armed and dangerous, and an event file automatically. And they're like, nah, we're going to interview this guy. That doesn't happen. If it does, at best, it's just abuse of power. Look, this is really important. This is important for the future of our country. I believe, this is me now, I have no evidence of this other than circumstantial, but I believe that we have had Saudi Arabia infiltrate our organizations and our cities and our schools, and there are terror cells all over this country, and it has to be exposed. When I was at CNN, we did a show on Virginia, the schools over in Virginia, and the State Department called and pretty much threatened us, and we were shut down on that story. Not on my network. We're going to continue to follow this because after 9/11, we all asked, what did anybody know? What did the president know, and why didn't he do anything about it? Well, the answer for any future terrorist activity in this country is, when did anybody know? I don't know. Check the date. What's the date today? Because they know right now. And the answer for you, unfortunately, I'm sorry to say, read Ezekiel. Blood will be on your hands as well if you don't credibly spread the news and warn the people. The answer for you and me is right now. We know. And this is what we promised ourselves we would do. If we ever found out, we would ring the warning bell. We would be vigilant, and we would watch. Last night, this program told you there were 75,000 students from hostile Muslim countries here on student visas. 75,000. Okay. What's the problem? Well, 15,000 of them have not shown up at their point of destination. 15,000 are here on student visas, and 15,000 have not shown up. Where are they? Remember, it only took 19 hijackers from Saudi Arabia on 9/11. And this doesn't even count the number of illegals that have crossed that are other than Mexican. This government is not only ignoring, they are aiding, abetting, they are lying and covering up. We still don't have an answer. We don't have an official answer as to where is this kid? Where is he now? I ask you to call your congressman again. There's additional information up on TheBlaze. And so you know, we're not asking you to do something we haven't done. I asked for this letter to be drafted. It went out to every congressman in the U.S. today. This is a letter of accountability. Americans lost their lives, the Americans lost their limbs, and another American city has lost their innocence. This is our responsibility. I'm asking Congress, what are you doing? What is your office doing? How do you respond to this? We demand an answer. We'll keep a list of accountability of who said it was a conspiracy theory? Who said the Saudis have nothing to do with anything? Who said don't worry about all of that stuff? Who covered the tracks? The State Department is doing that right now. They are covering the tracks. It is our responsibility as a broadcast outlet, but also as citizens, to uncover the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, and spread the word.